Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Man Behind Ministry podcast. As always, I'm your host, Minister Ryan Smith of the Virtue Tree Church right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Still in our spinoff dealing with some of our greatest music ministers in the game, and we've got a great one tonight. Um, man, if you know him, you know he's consistent in his gift and humble as all get out, but he's just super, super talented. And so we're blessed to have the music minister, the worship leader to the Light of the World congregation in Dallas, Texas, none other than Dwayne Pugh. So we're blessed to have him. I'm excited about what he's going to share, man. I know anyone who knows him, you know he's got a great mind and a heart for ministry. So we ain't gonna waste more time. Let's go ahead and get into it. How you doing, bro? How you doing?
Man, I am great, man. I am great. Thank you for those kind words, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's all love, man. Man, I've one of the great aspects of my youth ministry, my tenure in Texas, being in Cedar Crest, was getting to know so much of the music scene in Texas, and you're definitely one of those people, man.
It's a blessing, brother. And that's mutual. It's
Yeah,
mutual, man.
yeah,
Just your acquaintance is made life better, brother.
yeah,
It's made life better. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, man. Definitely. Just a blessing to get you on. Definitely tell Sister Angela we said hey, man, and definitely praying for her and all that she's got going in her life as well.
Most definitely will. Appreciate that.
Cool, cool. I ain't gonna waste more time. You ready to hop into this, bro?
Let's go, brother.
Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned, man, on the music scene, there are several talented brothers in our brotherhood, musically. I mean, we could spend a whole episode just naming them, let alone just their talents. Um, but from what I can see, and I think many of us would agree, while there are many brothers who are talented, it's hard to find consistency. And so when I look at you, man, you're not just talented, but you're consistent in your gift, man. There's a saying, in our context, man, you don't miss, man. Anytime I've heard you, sing or lead anything, man, like you don't miss. You're consistent. And so, man, how are you so consistent, man, musically?
That's a great question. One in which I don't I probably don't agree because I'm my worst critic as
Aren't we all?
it relates. But um really for me, man, it's like it starts and stops
Hmm.
with God. And
Yeah.
I really don't mean that in a cliche kind of way. Like
Hmm.
it really starts and stops with God, man. And so like I'm constantly chasing and pursuing um God. And one
Hmm.
of the things that one of the things that happened to me and that was shared with me early on, and this was prior to ministry. This was prior to us coming to Dallas.
Yeah.
But what was shared with me was that basically, as long as you stay connected to the Creator,
Hmm.
you can always remain creative.
Wow.
Like I think so many times we chase creativity,
Hmm.
and it was just clear that you
Yeah.
chase the Creator who gives creativity. You,
Wow.
you'll never run out. So you have an unlimited supply because you're connected to the source.
Mm.
And so that kind of shaped me, and
Yeah.
and it kind of it just it like it gave me perspective
Hmm.
as to my approach, even just to music in general,
Yeah.
is just the source has to be the source, and the
Yeah.
source always has to be primary.
Hmm.
And staying connected to the source, like how can God never runs out of creativity?
Yeah.
And so if I'm connected, then I have an unlimited supply of creativity because that's God.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of breeds, in my mind at least, that breeds consistency. And then you know, when you chase after something and someone bigger than you,
Mm-hmm.
pursuit is ongoing. And so
For sure.
you always have to grow. You always have to. You're always moving forward. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so, I mean, that to me, in my mind at least, musical consistency or or consistency period, uh, it stems from that. It really stems from that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. To our viewers, man, this is just the first. That was just the first question, and I'm already blown away. I mean, it's so profound, but it's so true. You know, especially musically, and you're in what many would call just the mecca of our brotherhood as far as church is concerned. There's so many different talented individuals there, and there are a lot of cats, man, who are chasing that limelight. You know, we call it COC famous. You know, if that's even a thing. You know, but I just love that perspective, man. Just chasing the creator, and other individuals have said on prior episodes, man, it's you got to have a good perspective. And so I just love, you know, picking your brain and just hearing that, and it definitely, yeah, it manifests in your gift. That's awesome, man. You mentioned, you know, earlier, people don't know, you know, they would just assume we've always been in Texas, you know, but you're obviously from the Midwest. And so tell us about your migration from the Midwest to being with Dr. Seamster. Awesome visionary, super talented individual in his own right, but just working with him. And, you know, how's your experience being at the light and just leading in that capacity that you're in now?
Man, this brother, I'm still blown away. I
Yeah.
mean, to this day, it's 15 years later, man. I'm still blown away, because God did something.
Yeah.
God did something, and I can't explain it. I can't quite I can't quite wrap my mind around it fully. You know, I'm still kind of perplexed that we're here
Yeah.
and we're serving in this capacity, and God has linked us with someone, with the heart and with the gifts, with the foresight, the commitment, the spiritual fortitude and
Mm-hmm.
vision of Dr. Seamster. I mean, I'm blown away by all of this, man. We were living in Cincinnati,
Mm-hmm.
right? We were doing inner city ministry in Cincinnati, and quite frankly, we were comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we us and our three kids, and
Yeah.
uh, nice, comfortable home that we were in, and
Mm-hmm.
both kind of moving in a certain trajectory within our careers, and
Yeah.
you know, life was good,
Yeah.
and we weren't looking,
Mm-hmm.
but we got a call, and one this is one of the things that I know Dr. Seamster tells this story, and I tell it as well, that when he and I first talked, I mean, our first conversation,
Mm-hmm.
we were on the phone for maybe 2 hours,
Wow.
and we talked about God the whole
Mm.
time.
Mm.
We had a conversation about God, and at the end of the conversation, he said, "Oh, by the way, can you sing?" And I said, "Yeah, a little bit."
Yeah.
But that's like that was the basis of our
Mm.
of us meeting.
Yeah.
We talked about God and God moving in our lives, and how we view God, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, just growth, and it was just a beautiful conversation. And then those conversations continue.
Yeah.
You know, of course, he let me know I'm looking for a music minister,
Mm-hmm.
so forth and so on, and we just went into prayer about it. And when we received our answer, we called him and we said, we're on the way.
Yeah.
And that first conversation took place in September.
Mm-hmm.
We were here in January.
Mm. Okay.
Picked up life changed, life shifted.
Yeah.
We were gone, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
just that quick.
And you had all
And
your kids at the time, or
all the
yeah.
kids, man, we
Yeah.
just, you know, like the Beverly Hillbillies, bro. We just
Yeah.
packed them all up and we just rolled out.
Yeah.
And here we are. You know, we're here in Dallas. It was it's been and is it's a God thing.
Yeah,
And I mean, you're gonna probably get tired of me saying that, but it's
I
just it's
don't.
really a God thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not a we couldn't have planned it this way. We couldn't
Mm-hmm.
have tried to figure it out and make it happen. But God kind of opened doors. And then once we're here, um, a beautiful relationship and bond started to forge between us and Dr. Simpson.
Yeah.
And I began to really um, see him, just the various dynamics of our relationship is beautiful. He's my pastor.
Mm-hmm.
He's a mentor.
Yeah.
He's a brother. He's a friend. And I mean, he's an employer. I mean, he's a plethora of things. He's my president at the college. I mean, it's just
Right. Right.
he
Right.
serves so many different capacities. But God has been using him, and 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 I say this without hesitation. With that, I say this unashamedly, man. Meeting him and us having a relationship and our bond growing, it has changed the very trajectory of my life. Undoubtedly.
Praise God.
Undoubtedly. Yeah, yeah. God is good, man, because he knew, God knew what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am, a young man with a family,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad passed away back in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the youngest in my family. So
Gotcha.
now there's this void in my life
Mm-hmm.
as it relates to manhood.
Right.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So God put somebody in my life who could say, "Hey, you need to pump the brakes here,"
Mm-hmm.
or "Hey, you need to push the gas here," or
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean, to provide some
Mm-hmm.
direction and some insight and some outlook and what have you, man. And so I'm grateful to God
Surely.
because um, God definitely knew what He was doing, and He knew what I needed. And it seems like, us um, us joining forces, so to speak, in
Mm-hmm.
this venture has been just it's been beautiful, because we've been able to see just some of the fruit of what God has been doing, and just to be able to participate in that,
Mm-hmm.
just the opportunity to participate in it, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just been life changing, really.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. I love to. I mean, I obviously being in Texas, you see the end result, but I always love the origin of things. It really creates a greater appreciation for that end result. So it's beautiful just to hear how you guys came to be, and obviously it was a God move. So
Yeah,
that's awesome,
yeah.
awesome. Musically, man, everybody's got their style. Everyone has a style. Everyone has their influences, man. And for you, man, when I listen to you, man, you got a mix of Molly music, John Legend. I'm sure you probably heard these things, man. So but who are your influences, man? What obviously outside of God, but we like music. When you're a musician, you like music, man. And so who are some musicians and artists, man, that really influence you musically?
Well, man, so my dad comes from a musical family. My
Mm-hmm.
mom comes from a musical family. Um, my dad is well, they both were pretty much. My dad is from Alabama. My
Okay.
mom was raised there, right?
Oh, well, you in the
So
South then. That makes sense.
yeah, so quartet,
Yeah, yeah.
quartet music. My
Yep.
dad sang quartet music, so
Mm-hmm.
you know that from out of that is
Yeah.
what spawned soul music.
Mm-hmm.
Then from soul came, you got rock,
Yep.
you got blues and country.
Yep.
That's cousins. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all of these different genres are all kind of connected. So uh, at any given point in time, man, I'm listening to Sam Cooke and the Stirs,
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
we listen to Stevie Wonder, or we listening to the Commodores, or Pops will bring out the Oak Ridge Boys. He gonna listen to some country music.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
it was just a variety of music that was always being played. And then growing up, of course, in our tradition, growing up singing a cappella gospel,
Yep.
it's all around you. So then I have my influences on that side. So I grew up, of course, I'm Midwest again. So
Yep.
uh, so before they were straight company, you have the music makers.
Mm-hmm.
Holy smokes! Now they were
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
same crew, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have them. Then of course the inner city singers, and
Mm-hmm.
then of course Southside from Rogersville, and so it's just like all of these different groups, all of these different musical influences have
Mm-hmm.
always been around, and I've been exposed to and what have you, and it's just been on different um, in different areas of at different times of life rather,
Yeah.
and it's to me it's just kind of poured in, and then of course let's not forget, I mean one of the mentors that had an amazing and profound impact on my life, Johnny Wilder Jr.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, always and forever is right up the street, and he lets me come
Yeah.
to his house and just sit there, and he's playing music for when they were when Heatwave was recording
Right.
over in Europe and what have you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
listening to this like I love this, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a variety of different influences, man, and I think that's the beauty of God, though, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
God pulls from this and that and this and
Right.
that and puts it all together and creates something, just synthesizes something else.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot of influences here.
Yeah. And that's beautiful, man. I know people often critique people who, oh, you copy from here, I'm copy from there, but it's like there's nobody that's completely original except God. You know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, if I mean, you talked about your genes, like you came from a singing family, and it's funny. And I don't know about you, but growing up, you kind of want to have your own identity. You know what I mean? So it's like, as I would sing, people like, oh, you sound just like your dad, and it's like I don't mind that, but it's like, okay, let me try to find my own thing. But it's like no matter what I did, you sound just like Ronnie. You know what I mean? It's like then as I got older, it was like now it became a compliment. It's like it's an honor. You know what I mean? Because I came from him, and it's just, and that's spiritual as well. It's like I'm supposed to embody my father because he, like you
Yeah,
said, goes back to he's my creator. You know what I mean? And so it becomes, instead of trying to run from him, like you said, you start to chase after him. So
yeah,
it's it's really an honor, man. Um, you've obviously, when just even listening to your influences, anyone who's not familiar, they can, but just listening to you, they can tell you've been in the music game for a while. Just even the 15-year stint at Light of the World can speak to that. And so everyone, when you talk about music ministry and you're at a congregation where, you have that worship team format, and it's become more of a mainstay in a lot of congregations. I've seen even some of the most conservative congregations have embraced that, because of COVID. I mean, it's forced you to, when you could only have a certain amount of people in your building during the crux of that moment. It made us rethink. But it's good to know that there were some people whose faith was strong enough to go ahead and adopt that beforehand. So you kind of prepared and ready in that sense. With that being said, though, like, what's your approach to music when you think about worship in that corporate space? What's your approach? Everyone's got a different approach. What's Dwayne's approach to worship?
uh, my approach typically starts with listening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I found out I have a PhD in messing stuff up. Um, I'm I'm consistent in that.
Yeah.
I can really mess stuff up, man, real good. But when I listen and I'm kind of centered and quiet, um, God always knows best,
Yeah.
and I draw from that, man. And I try to. I really I never want to learn how to do music ministry.
Mm.
I don't want to know how.
Yeah.
I just want to be available to do it,
That's good.
so that however God desires the flow to be, however God desires the moment to be. I want to be open to it, and really, to be honest, to be very frank and candid. That's really me, bruh. Like, I really don't. I wish when people would ask sometimes, I wish I could be like, well, you know what? Step A, step B, step C.
Yeah.
And I can't. It's really, it really starts and stops for me with, God, what do you want? What do you want to happen in this moment?
Yeah.
What do we need in this moment? Because every moment is not the same moment. And I know, we have the tendency to, just because we're human, we try to recreate moments. We fall into, habitually doing things and what have you, and that's just human.
Yeah.
But I think we always have to be open and available to God, saying, in this moment, this is what's needed. And we can't receive that if we're not listening. So I always have to listen. And the folks in our music ministry will attest to the fact that there are plenty of times when we walk into a place prepared to do one thing, and the atmosphere, the moment, the environment demands something else.
Right.
And we just like, sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
I know we've been working on these songs for like 2 or 3 months, but we're not singing those today.
Right.
And they're like, what? We got to go with the flow, but I think it's just a matter of listening, man. And I think in that we give room and we give way to God doing what God wants to do, because we can have a plan, and we should, but we have to always be conscious and keenly aware of the fact that at best our plans are going to be short. We're going to miss something. We're going to not consider something. We're going to something's going to fall by the wayside or whatever. We're going to drop the ball somewhere at best. But I really believe, I wholeheartedly believe that when we give room, stuff happens, man.
Yeah, surely.
Stuff happens, man. And it's stuff to this day that I can't explain. And it's been in those moments where we let go, and we quit trying to direct and facilitate for God and allow God to do it. And it was like, wow, we couldn't have done this ourselves,
right,
at all. It was perfect for the moment. So that's really my approach, is to learn not to have an approach, but to embrace whatever God's approach is for the moment and be open to that. I really want to just be open.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And it's like you said, it's important to have that plan. But if you're like me, even, being on the preaching side, man, one of the most memorable times, I've shared a bunch of memories with you musically, just coming over to events that you all would have. I remember the guys, we came over to one of your holiday events, and we sang, we shared moments there. And then one of my most fond memories, though, was seeing you all at the EP in 2018 in California, and that was when I lost my voice. And that was the first time I ever lost my voice. So I was just like, wow, And so after we sang that Saturday, I'm trying to like just not talk at all. And we get to worship at Metro, and you guys were one of the key groups leading worship, man, and just going in, man, and like, just like you said, those moments you can't explain, like, and man, people don't understand just the power of music and just letting God have his way, man. Just the worship in that space, like, just brought me to tears, man. And I remember talking to Angie, and she was like, I know you getting ready to preach because you over here crying, so I know you getting ready. And sure enough, that was one of probably the greatest sermons ever preached, and I barely could even talk, but that's just how God works. And it's funny because we, as musicians, as ministers, we lean heavily on our voice, but as you illustrate, when you listen to his voice, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, yeah, man. And and to your point, like for you, like in that moment, you were voiceless, right? You were hoarse, right? So you're like you have you have a mandate, you have a responsibility to the people of God, but yet you have to minister out of your weakness.
Yeah.
And brother, that's the part that doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah.
People see the beauty.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Donald Lawrence's song, "The Prayer of Jabez." Beautiful song. Oh, it's just beautiful. I mean, the arrangement and the vocal arrangement, the instrumentation, everything is just beautiful. And you're listening to that prayer.
Yeah.
And they're asking, "Bless me indeed," right? But what we have to always keep in mind, how does God bless us?
Right.
A lot of times it involves breaking. Like, you got to be broken. God will break you to bless you.
Yep.
And we see the blessing and we enjoy the blessings, and we should. But man, there's some brokenness
for sure
that comes before those blessings start to flow.
Yeah.
That is, to me at least, that is a depiction of music ministry, of ministry in general, but specifically since this topic, it's music ministry, it comes out of brokenness.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready to be broken, and I don't know how that brokenness is going to show up. Yeah. Sometimes that brokenness might be financial brokenness. Yeah. It might be physically broken. It might, it various ways, professionally broken, just mentally, emotionally. If you're not ready to be broken, then you don't want to jump into this.
You don't want to be in this space, man. No, that's real.
Yeah,
that's real. I mean, for me, like,
it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, when God called my mother, I mean, that broke me. I mean, I was on the verge of like, okay, God, do I still want to do this? Like this ministry in general, because that broke me, but I know now I can speak to it, a little over a year later, my perspective's changed, my preaching has changed. I mean, everything, is different, when you're broken to that magnitude, but like you said, people see the end result, we keep it's kind of a thing, we see the end result. It's like, man, you don't know what that person or those individuals have gone through to worship and praise with that level of conviction. That just don't come from nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're in tune with God and you have good discernment with people, you can tell when it's a show. And you can tell when, okay, now this person is singing from a place of depth. You know what I'm saying? They're singing from, as they say, you got to sing from your diaphragm. The same spiritually, there's a deep place, where worship and praise comes from. Love it.
Yeah, man. Dude, that's just, brother, that's a topic in and of itself right there, bro. Shit. Because, man, it's just like, and the thing is, we're all hurting. Like everybody's hurting. We look good though. You know what I mean? So we see the beauty. We may witness the blessing from the eyes, but spiritually, our spiritual eyes, if we're tuned, if we're aware, then we realize we're all hurting. Yeah. And so when we come into a space, or when we have a moment, like you have a moment, God is entrusting you in a moment to speak to somebody's brokenness.
Yeah.
And you can't play with that.
Nah.
Like that's so serious, man. And it is a weight. It is a weight I wouldn't wish on anyone.
Yeah.
Because it's, and I've often shared this with Dr. Seamster. It only took me like a month being here and just being in the car with him and just going through a day with him we're midway through the day. I'm already in the passenger side asleep because we've been we've been running so much.
Yeah.
And it was about a month after being here, and I looked at him and I said, "I'm sorry." He said, "Sorry for what?" I
Yeah.
said, "I'm sorry. I thought I had an idea of what ministry entailed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and I didn't treat it accordingly. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the proper respect that
Yeah.
I needed to when I would see those involved in ministry and those
Mm-hmm.
who have truly given their lives to minister to people, man. It is a weight that is constantly on you, because if you are truly sold out for what you're doing, and if you're truly just pursuing God in that, you realize that God is entrusting you with some stuff,
Yeah.
and those people are entrusting you with something, and you don't want to let God down, and you don't want to let them down,
Right.
and you live with that weight each and every day. And it's like, bro, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy, and that's real,
It's
and
a lot of
that's
pressure.
where. But then the beauty of it is that God takes all that pressure,
Mm-hmm.
God takes that weight, and says, and then all God has to do is speak a word,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it shifts something in you,
Yeah.
and then you in turn allow that moment to happen, and it shifts something in the lives of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Brother, that's the beauty of it. But
Yeah.
you can't get away from that brokenness
No. Mm-mm.
at all.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
That's
bad, I ain't mean to go off on a
no.
tangent,
You
man.
good,
That's
man. It's what it's about, man. It's you know, humanizing the position of ministry. It's not all glitz and glamour. You know what I'm saying? The end result is beautiful, but like we keep saying, you just don't know the behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes on behind, not just with a group, but personally. You know what I'm saying? Like each, and not just the people on the stage. I mean, the worship, the person that comes to worship. Everyone has a context, and if you're not getting anything else from this tonight, it's just understand that you got to be in tune with God, because like Dwayne just mentioned, God will speak a word, but if you're not listening, and you mentioned listen earlier, if you're not listening, then you're missing that word, whether it's coming from the preacher, the music minister, or even somebody sitting next to you in the pew, or just a moment, watching Christians interact with each other, human interaction. You know what I'm saying? You never know. God can use any avenue to speak, and you got to keep your head on the swivel, because you can miss that moment. So,
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. A lot of great insight, gang. But man, before we let you go, man, what's some final words you can share with people? I mean, there are individuals, regardless of all that you said, that still strive for the position, still seek out. They have musical talents, but we obviously know talent is only going to take you so far. What's some advice you could share for those viewing?
Well, I would say, just on a practical level,
Mm-hmm.
on a practical level first, you've always got to put in the work,
Mm-hmm.
and that happens in private.
Yeah.
And nobody can give you a work ethic.
Right.
Like you have to develop that and embrace that yourself, because anything, generally speaking, anything worth anything is going to take some work.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically as it relates to ministry, it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work, and that work, that the majority of that work takes place when nobody's watching,
Mm-hmm.
when nobody's, you're not in front of a crowd, you're not in front of people, you're by yourself. A lot of that work is internal work.
Mm-hmm.
It's excavating the stuff inside of us, and investigating what's going on inside of ourselves is a lot of that work. So you gotta put in the work, and that happens behind the scenes. And then most importantly, I think it's just again, I wholeheartedly believe this. I wholeheartedly believe this. You chase God,
Hmm.
and whatever you've been wanting, God will either lead you in that direction, or or God will reshape you to want what God wants for you,
Hmm.
and then lead you in that direction.
Yeah.
So, like
Yeah.
like David says, uh, He will give you the desires of your heart.
Hmm.
Right? A lot of times we think that's just
Right.
going to God as a wish list. You know, God, I want. But no, God will give you what you should want, so that
Yeah.
now you're not chasing what you want. You're chasing what God wants for you,
Hmm.
right? And if
Yeah.
you're chasing what God wants for you, you know He's gonna see it. God's gonna see it to come to pass.
Right.
So if you can't go wrong chasing God,
Hmm.
bro. I there are things that have happened and are happening in my life that just blow my mind,
Hmm.
and they have come not from me chasing a goal,
Right.
but it comes from chasing God.
Mm.
And I can't explain how this good thing happened,
Yeah.
because God orchestrated it.
Yeah.
I real and I keep saying this, man, because we live in a culture where it's popular to use God language and to
Hmm.
use cliches, but I'm really, I don't know how else to express it, but God has a way of putting you in places and before people,
Hmm.
and gifting you in certain ways, and putting you right in the right place at the right time. God has a way of moving certain people out of the way,
Yeah.
of closing certain doors and opening certain doors at certain times that just can't be orchestrated by human ingenuity.
Yeah.
And so if we lean on Him, rely on Him, relentlessly pursue God, that other stuff, like
Hmm.
Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom,
Hmm.
it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
It will happen, man. I'm a witness, man. It'll happen, and that's not to discount any kind of intellectual,
Hmm.
academic pursuits or
Right.
professional pursuits. Yeah, because we're human elements, so yeah, we need to.
Hmm.
Uh, God is concerned about all of us.
For sure.
So in every area, we need to be concerned about growth, and so I think we need to chase and pursue to be the best in every single area of our lives. But God is it. All of those things are all centered around God. They're all ancillary
Hmm.
kind of things, but God is in the center of it all. And with God in the center of it all, and God being the focal point, then God will give you and I and us, God will give us what we need to accomplish those things.
Right.
We live in a culture who says, get them things first,
Hmm.
get that bag.
Right.
Man, you can get the bag if you ain't got God. The bag still ain't gonna be what you think
Nope.
it is.
Nope. Ain't gonna be enough.
It's gonna come with some headaches though.
Hmm.
And then who you gonna run to when you get your headaches?
Right.
You know what I mean? You can get the
Right.
stuff. You can receive the accolades and what have you, but accolades don't bring you comfort when you have mental anguish.
Yep.
Like accolades, they're not gonna be there to be like, oh, I'm gonna soothe you. Like,
Right. No.
no, awards, they're not gonna, like, you can go after the stuff. You can try that. Go ahead
It's
and
gonna
try
be on
it.
the
But
shelf.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna come up short, man.
Yeah.
And I really I'm I am I'm sold out for people chasing God,
Hmm.
because I've witnessed the, what God has done in and for me, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. And this is no surprise because I'm human element like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mess, bro.
Yeah.
And I don't glorify it in my humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty of it is God is like, you're available.
Mm-hmm.
I can work with you in that.
Yeah.
I'll meet you right there. And if it's anything else that I would want people to know, is that although God is beyond us and above us and so far ahead of us, God is near us.
Mm.
Brother, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Why would God want to be near me? Why would you want to be near me?
Wow.
What sense does that make? Who am I? Why would you want to be near me? Now I know me.
Right.
And if you know, and since you know more of me than I know me,
Mm-hmm.
you still want to be near me?
Right.
Come on.
That just speaks to the awesomeness of God.
Yeah.
There's another way around it. It's like, man, he's as awesome as he is, and he still cares about little wretched old me, you know?
Yeah, bro.
It's like, man, it's like Paul said, you know, a wretched man, who will deliver me from this body of death? Can't deliver myself because I'm just stuck carrying it around, you know. But God cares enough to come down and fix us, and even cares enough to dwell in us.
Oh man, yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
so amazing.
It's humbling.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, brother. And I just like, I don't know, man. I really wish sometimes I could have more tangible things to tell people. Because sometimes, you know, because people sometimes ask, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm interested in this, that, and the other. So what should I do? And I really wish I could be like, well, you know, like I said earlier, I wish you, here's step A, here's step that but my experience, because I can only speak out of my experience, and I try to learn from the experience of others, but out of my experience, I know what God has done and what God is doing.
Right.
Like, I bank on that, man. Like, it starts and stops with God for me.
You can't lose.
And I mean, if I do, it was on me. It wasn't on God.
Yeah. God didn't fail because he can't fail, you know? Like, sometimes I guarantee you, it's like I tell people, you know, when I'm, you know, giving spiritual advice, when they seek advice or whatever, and they, you know, consult with me and stuff like that, and when they share their private matters with me, you know, I tell them from the jump, just know if this information leaves this room, don't come asking me, because it ain't me. It's you. You know, God's kind of the same way. Like, hey, if this don't work out, it ain't because I didn't do my part. It's because you didn't do something, you know? So good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff, man. Man, look, if no one else was blessed tonight, you blessed me. If the purpose wasn't just for you to come and bless my life, hey, purpose fulfilled. So I'm normally worried about the viewers. I ain't worried about them right now. You blessed my life.
It's beautiful, bro. It really is, man. I appreciate you. I truly do. I appreciate your ministry. I appreciate your heart, brother. I really do, man. So it's beautiful.
Definitely love it, man. Before we let you go, tell us how can we find you in the ministry on social media?
You can go to we have Facebook, Light of the World Church of Christ. We're Light of the World Church of Christ.com. Website. I have to remember, make sure I give out the right one. Light of the World Church of Christ.com.
Yes, sir.
And you can find us there. Look us up. Come check us out.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Not a confidence, man, for sure.
Yeah. So if you're in Texas, I know it's a lot of churches in Dallas, but hey, one of them that you want to visit, you want to check out is the Light of the World Church of Christ, man. Again, we appreciate you. Those who've been on with us, been rocking with us, we appreciate you. We do this every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is a ministry. Like it, subscribe to it, share it, bless someone else with this time. Until next week, next episode, we'll see you then. God bless you. God keep you. Peace.
Peace.